Good afternoon. Welcome to the NPFL Outlook, episode 7. Slowly and surely, we are making progress. Now, if you're a follower of Nigerian football, I'm sure you're not surprised, or you will not be surprised when you hear certain news or certain situations make the news about Nigerian football. But from on the positive side, the league season is, shaping up to be a really exciting one, particularly because of the surprises that have been springing up. The likes of Kwara United, Sunshine Stars have shown themselves preseason favorites. Rivers United and Neighbor are living up to expectation. And of course, with the return of TV, it's giving the league a little bit of a boost. But at the same time, things can only get better. As usual, I'm not alone on this show. I always have a guest or two, but I brought back the guys that were with me last week. Um, Two of my colleagues, Olawale Adigun and Femi Faraway, joined me on the NPFL Outlook today. Wale, welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be here once again. I mean, last week was bedeviled with internet issues,
Yeah,
which maybe encapsulates where we are as a country.
you know, you know,
Maybe also encapsulates where our football is right now.
true, true, true.
So
It gives it proper context.
exactly, but we can only hope for better days.
Oh yes, we can only hope for better days. Also, Femi Faraway is here. Femi, how now?
I'm very well. Great to be here as well. I hope this week will be better than last week. And I hope
I
we'll be able
hope
to
so.
pull out better answers that are all positive, less
Well,
negative thoughts.
well, well. On a daily basis, I'm one that I believe, strongly in this country and the potential that it has. But on a
hmm
daily basis, that belief is somehow waning with the things that I read, the things that I see. But we just have to keep hope alive and hope that somewhere along the line, some of us that have our heads well screwed in and have the interest of this country at heart will eventually occupy positions where we can actually be the change that we want to see. Let's get into it very quickly, and we are starting on a controversial note. How to separate Nigerian football and controversy is a matter for another day. And I want to start with Wale. Wale, news broke yesterday through our colleague Toby Samuel on the termination of Sunday Adetunji's contract by Plateau United. I have done some digging, but I want to get your take on that young man and what happened to his career, which seemed to be, about to take another upward, go on the upward trajectory again. But this is a huge setback for the young man.
I mean, it depends on how you see it. It depends on what prism you see it. If it's a setback or if it is a launch pad, it depends on how the player sees it. But remember that pre-Plateau United, there was also controversy on, was he playing for Abia Warriors? What
Yes,
happened
that's
with
true.
where he was coming from, with him donning the shirts of Abia Warriors and Plateau United almost simultaneously. There were
Yeah,
questions that answers, convincing answers were not produced, but we let it go. But I was speaking to Toby yesterday. I mean, he has a better knowledge of that situation. He's closer to the player. And to be honest, I mean, Toby also doesn't know what is wrong. I mean, he says the player has claimed that he's leaving, he's asked for his contract to be terminated because of personal issues. And I was trying to dig deeper. I mean, what could those personal issues be? But the player was not forthcoming. So the player has done a statement to that effect, which went viral yesterday. But I mean, it was a marriage that looked good. I understand the
yeah.
sign-on fees were really good.
Oh yes.
His salary was mouth his
Continue,
salary was
Wale, continue.
mouth-watering. Yeah,
Yeah.
his salary was mouth-watering. Although I think that he didn't live up to the end of his own bargain. He didn't score a goal for them. I mean, didn't show up for them when it really mattered. But we also saw that with Adetunji. I thought that the media took, unveiling of players, it took it to another level in the terms of his unveiling, in the terms of his presentation.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was really good. Could have been a model. It's just a shame that it has ended this way. I don't think he spent up to 6 months at Plateau United. But I mean, the Nigerian in me tells me that maybe Sunday Adetunji has found a club abroad that he wants to go to. But that right now cannot be established. So that is what I know about that situation right now. But actually, he's a player that comes with a lot of hype. I mean, you talk about Sunday Adetunji among league cycles, and they talk about a brilliant player, who can deliver the goals when needed. It's just a shame that this has ended this way.
A lot has to do with attitude, and I'm one that works with children, trying to encourage them in the game and trying to show them that it's not just about your physical, your talent, your physical attributes, your abilities, but a lot about the attitude. Now, you mentioned that was a really good deal. I did some digging. I understand sign-on fee was 2 million naira. I understand that his salary was 650,000 a month, and I was paid 3 months upfront by Plateau United. Really, I think our players need to learn one thing: that attitude, the way they handle contract situations. I did an episode of 90 Literature, and we kind of focused on players and their responsibilities when it comes to contracts. One of the things I heard was that he said for personal reasons. I've not seen where contracts are terminated just on the basis of personal reasons from the players, exclusively from the player's perspective. Now, first game he played, I guess. You said?
I was going to comment. I was going to raise some of those concerns as well.
Femi, is it Femi that is talking or Wale?
It was me. It's me. I was going to raise some of those concerns when you mentioned the personal reasons.
Now your network is breaking. Your network is breaking.
You can't hear me properly, can you?
I can hear Femi.
Your network is breaking.
I can hear Femi clearly.
Okay.
I was going to raise the concern when you said personal. When we mentioned personal, that word personal itself, it's not very clear from both parties. The party of the club side, when you say you terminated it on personal reasons, and you're talking about an agreement has been struck, what is the reason? The club hasn't said anything forward, and only the player side we have heard. And that doesn't balance the story of what really happened. Because in the situation of, take for example, the Diego Costa situation, when he said personal reasons, now both club and the player came out to release such an information. But in this situation, it's been very cloudy. You just go, I'm not playing anymore. I've terminated my contract. That's the end of it. Exactly. Now, for a player with a lot of potential, it brings the question of what's the club saying? His management did not clearly state. I don't know, when you say personal, it could be anything. But at the point, we're all in the blind. So does it mean the contract itself wasn't professional enough for him to easily terminate it and just walk away? Or is there something else going on behind the scene the club is not informing us? Because in other times, when players put stuff like this out, the club threatens hail and brimstone, but nothing. I've gone through Plateau United's page, nothing. Yeah. It's just quiet.
But can I come in right now?
Yeah, Wale.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the big worry for me when it comes to Sunday Adetunji's situation is that he might also have set himself up, badly going forward.
Exactly.
Sunday looks like damaged goods right now. Even in the NPFL, who wants to take a player who after 3 months is going to say for personal reasons, for spiritual reasons, for whatever reasons, he wants his contract torn up. I mean, same also applies even if you're about to go to Europe.
Exactly.
So you're setting yourself, and it begs the question that the players in the NPFL need to take representation very seriously, and not just ordinary representation, real and authentic representation. It's not enough that you have journalists representing you.
Wale, you speak about representation. I agree with you 150% that it is important that the representation industry itself needs to be overhauled. The NFF that has the oversight function on that industry needs to do a lot. There's a lot of nonsense going on in that industry, both from regulatory, from the industry practitioners themselves, and those outside the industry who want to be in the industry, who want to play a part in the industry. Why am I saying so? Like as I said, my last podcast recording had to do with that. Now, why is the intermediary scene not rewarding on the local scene? One of such reasons is the attitude of the players. Now, if I represent the player today, the player signs for a club, his salary is 100,000 naira a month, right? I'm entitled to a percentage of that salary, which is between 3 to 5%. Some agents, if you are good enough, you can get up to 10%. Depends on how you structure your whatever. So that means if I'm getting up to 10%, I'm entitled to 10,000 naira every month from the boy's salary. But you know what? From what I have found out, from questions I've asked, digging that I've done, the players always refuse to pay. They always refuse to pay. Now, the second thing is the clubs are supposed to be able to structure your payment outside the players settling you. But the clubs will tell you how are they going to put it in their payroll, because they are government clubs and they don't have the sense or the gumption on the understanding to know that they can present to the accountant general of their state to say, oh, this man offered XYZ service to sign this player, so we have to pay him this. They tell you how they're going to put it there. That is why it is always muddled up. And on the local scene, you don't see agents representing players on the local scene. And every agent that you see representing the local player, all he wants to do is to carry the player abroad. That's why they don't use the way it is.
There is also another factor that we have to talk about. I mean, there's also the case of the third-party ownership where players are going abroad through academies. Players are going abroad through academies. Then I think that crucially, that the representative, the intermediary industry in the Nigeria football scene has to be much more organized. Now, what you realize happens is that I'm not trolling my colleagues in the industry. What you realize that a lot of journalists do managerial work for these players behind the scenes.
Very true. Very true.
And yes, they are not structured. All they have is word of mouth. All they have is something scribbled on paper. It is once a player knows that you are a FIFA licensed intermediary, he can't do nonsense with you. Because he knows he is dragging your ass to court, and that will cost him in the long term. You get my point? But if a player knows that you are just a journalist and you guys just met because you say good things about him and blah blah blah, it gives him the leeway. I mean, it was on this platform, if you remember, that Deji Ogenibo from Jos was saying that one of the players did him dirty. If you remember.
Yes.
If Deji is a regulated intermediary, how does it try that? It doesn't.
But you see, Wale, you see, the problem also lies in. I get your point, but I've also spoken to the so-called licensed intermediaries. They are also not eager to seek redress. Why? Because they do believe that if I don't fight one player, I fight the second one, I'm fighting the third one, I'm already creating a bad name for myself. So within the player's circle, they will most likely not want to touch you. You understand that? Agent. If you have money, you go court, stuff like that. But I agree with you, and I maintain that look, if I have a representation contract with you, and I've invested my time, my money, my resources to build a structure around making you a superstar, I'm entitled to my money. You shouldn't hold my money. And also, there's a see finish aspect. because we are, we know ourselves.
Of course,
because if you're going to Europe, you can't do that to an European-based agent. Never. Because there are consequences. We're talking about an industry that has a player status committee that has not sat for 3 years. Come on. It's already a dirty mess. It's a mess already.
And on a good day, I think that I would like to also know. I always said is one of my favorite lines when I'm on this platform. I would like to know what the LMC make of this. So this is a player club situation. The LMC might say, "Hey, we don't have the jurisdiction to really meddle into those matters." But I would like to know what they really make of, because this could be a landmark situation. This could be a turning point. This could be.
But Wale, the reason why I don't think it's a turning point is this is not the first time it's happening. It has happened before. This one only went further by going on social media and putting it out there. A lot of times we've seen players. I remember the situation of Sonny Faleye, for example. So I spoke with the chairman of 3AC and he says, "Oh, he's still a player." Meanwhile, there were already conversations that he was off to Aqua United. And afterwards, he'd gone abroad. And I asked again, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yes, he can't play for anybody but us." Until date, he has not played for anybody in Shooting Stars. Instead, he's playing abroad. All I'm saying is it happens a lot of times. The LMC doesn't, most times they go, "Oh, it's beyond our jurisdiction. There's nothing we can do." So I think it's bad planning. I think it's bad management. I fault his media team, because before you put that sort of information out, you must have thought about it from every single corner. We've all said the same thing. The player could have handled the situation a lot better. The club has been quiet. Now, either because they are poorly run or because they react to information slowly. But at this point, one of their big names has left. The LMC would not do anything. The LMC, as a matter of fact, will sit out of this one. They've not finished sorting out the ones they are owing salaries. Is it this one they will come and put their mouth inside? No, it's not possible.
If you're joining us, please hold on, Wale, hold on. If you're joining us, please drop your comments. We have 2 comments from Shaya Olabi. Sunday Balotelli, he says how many players in the NPFL have proper representation. They just have one journalist doing it all. Basic, minimum, media, PR, legal, and image personal rights. Like Emi said, scrap all of them. If you have any other comments, please drop your comments in the comment section. I will take them. Wale, over to you. You're saying?
I just wanted to quickly shock you that in this Sunday Adetunji situation, do you even know that those that were representing him, some of them were even blanked out of that decision. Some only heard about the decision on Twitter. Exactly. So you see the way these players operate and don't give a hoot. I mean, they don't give a hoot about
they don't. They don't. And when I think back now, because when I left banking, this was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a player agent. I'd done the exam, done everything, had my certificate. I wanted to do it. But by the time I spoke to a few people, interviewed a few players, spoke to a few regulatory people, looked at the mess, I said, no, in this current state, I can't handle this madness. I need to go back, have some change in my pocket for me to be able to go into this industry and have a bit of sanity. Dunlodi Okonta joins us, is saying, laughing out loud, you are one of the people spoiling the industry. Dunlodi Okonta, one of the people spoiling the industry. See, the LMC and the NFF have kept quiet on player transfer, player issues, player contract issues for too long. Wale said something, and I think it's very crucial. What Wale said is very crucial and critical. This might lead to a precedence in the NPFL that after 3 months, a player plays for a team because they dropped him. Because I understand, I could be wrong, but my findings is that he stopped going to training. At the point, he stopped training because Mike Haba dropped him. He wasn't playing anymore. And of course, he was under a lot of pressure from the just people. The fans were not happy with his performances in the league and when he played on the continent. Look, Wow, they've been doing it already now. They've been doing it since. When
That's
you
what I'm
look
saying.
at the
That's what I'm
look at
saying.
the NPFL and look at the top scorers, one of them, Sebi, ran away from Sunshine last season and
That's what I'm saying.
ended up in
Exactly.
Rangers. And they said he's alone. He's there the second year now. Is he still
That's what
alone?
I'm saying.
Please.
That's what I'm saying. That
Let's move
we
on to the
get
next.
a lot of these things.
Let's move on to
The only difference is it has now moved on to social media. That's just it.
Yeah, because part of the parties involved decided to make the announcement official.
Very
Maybe
simple.
that's why we're getting to hear. So I get that. And our friend Victor Modo doing some wishful thinking, hoping that MFM can sign him on the short-term contract. MFM can afford to pay that guy's 60,000 naira a month salary. Let's go into the next topic that I had lined up: the financial state of Nigerian football. Yes, Dumlodi, I just said it that this Sunday I think this issue isn't the first. Let me end it there. Yes, we know it's not the first, but social media has helped us to, expand this conversation. So, Wale, let me come to you. We are in an industry. Last week, we had a conversation about the running of the league. You spoke about the financing of the league. You mentioned that you believe firmly, or reports said, that the league is run by personal funds, by people's personal pockets. And I explained to you why I'm worried. Secondly, we could have discussed last week, Guerrero being owed 5 months salary, another being owed 22 months salary, players owned 19 months match bonuses and what have you. And our NFL president has the guts, the gumption to want to run to get to the FIFA Council. He must have huge balls to want to achieve that when the home front is in a total mess.
The Amaju Pinnick doesn't see it that way. Amaju Pinnick believes that Nigerian football is probably suffering.
In the best shape.
Not probably the best shape, but also suffering from the after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and still,
Wale,
the effects.
Wale, that's why I'm just starting. I'm just starting. Okay, I just started. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So he believes that the Nigerian football is still suffering from the after effects and also the effects of the pandemic from a financial point of view. Does he have a point there? I think he has a decent point. But everybody will also say that, it's not only Nigeria that has been hard hit, with the pandemic. The story that came through on the BBC a couple of weeks ago didn't look good on the NFF. And you know why it didn't look good on them, especially Amaju Pinnick? It was also the period where he was going through his integrity test, at FIFA. So that's so ironic that the integrity of our football is suffering, and our president is passing an integrity test at FIFA. By the way, he passed it and can now contest, in the FIFA Council. But Yemi, can you hear me?
I'm with you, Ali.
Okay, so sorry, a call interfered with our conversation. All right, so I was saying, I think that owing Aloyagu 22 months, that's criminal. That is criminal. I must admit. Although the NFF president tried to save face and say that we have paid 9 months out of it, Aloyagu was interviewed and he said, "See, I don't want to say much about this, but they have paid some part of it." Gennett also has handled this. For the hits that Gennett collects from everyone, especially from journalists, this guy still manages not to make it a public show that he's been owed, substantial amounts in salaries by the Football Federation. And Amaju Pinnick, the way he was confident about talking about these matters with the BBC, I was ashamed, because he was saying, "See, COVID, ITO hasn't been up and coming because of the pandemic." But what happened before the pandemic?
That's my point exactly.
What happened? Because if you would track back 22 months we are talking about 2 years here.
2 years ago.
That's 2 years. So what happened before the pandemic? What happened to the FIFA money that came through? Why are the players still being owed? So I mean, Abacha Pinnick, you know that he divides opinion every time. It divides opinion, and sometimes you just don't know where you stand with him. But in recent days, I think that it's been saying the wrong things. It's always, I mean, sometimes he speaks and you marvel and say that this is someone who knows the game from an administrative point of view, who has a very good plan for the game. But I fear that for all of his good plans, there's been a lot of there's been a lack of transparency. Is it with our commercial revenues and whatever? It was just last week or 2 weeks ago we talked about the fact that the books of the NFF, we haven't seen the books in 2 years.
Yes, not 2 years before the World Cup.
So even before the World Cup, Abacha Pinnick told us that the NFF was 60-70%, not solvent, not dependent on the government anymore.
Femi was on the show. He said it's this.
So when Pinnick says these things and moments later or months later you are seeing the opposite, then you don't know what to believe. So the financial state of our football right now, I think I won't say it's in shambles. I just don't know about it because the Football Federation has not been open about it. They have not been open about it.
Wale, when you mentioned it, just a comment.
Femi, hold on. Femi, hold on. Let me ask you this. Now, with this financial state, this is my belief. This is why we have an NFF that is not concerned about having NPFL players play in the Super Eagles. This is the reason why we have an NFF that loves to chase players of Nigerian descent, boys born in the diaspora to play for the Super Eagles. Why? Because I believe these are guys who, the link between them and the home front is not that much. So the chances of them making so much noise about being owed is very slim. Unlike if you have these our boys in the NPFL, in the Super Eagles, this noise of 19 months would have heard it since. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's what I think.
Probably.
That's why I think they are particular about chasing those guys because they really don't have any recourse to home. I'm sure Wale would agree with me that there are times we talk to some Super Eagles players that they tell us that the monies they collect when they come home as match bonus and that is what they use to sort out the domestic scene. So this is why I believe we are so focused on having those guys to kind of balance the books.
Well, I don't completely agree. I agree when you say because a lot of these foreign players come in, and yes, there's very little connect with journalists, with PR people, with management teams around here. So there's very little or nobody
with family.
But for the journalists, for the footballers themselves, the local players, number one, there's a lot of things going on. There's the lack of activity, lack of proper infrastructures, lack of proper playing competitive football games. All these things, it plays to the hands of the NFF. There's also another angle that I feel makes the NFF easy to look abroad. When you pick players who are abroad, say you pick, from the top of my head, let's say we pick Alex Iwobi. Iwobi is easier to market compared to an Ikechukwu Ezenwa or an Israel Abia. Because normally, you find it easier to get more monies if you package these guys and drop in front of a sponsor. From the footballing point, obviously, Raw has his own opinion. From the administrative point of view, there's also another angle. Are they one of the reasons why the president is making us excuses? I don't think it holds water, in my opinion. And one thing I wanted to just add to what Wale has said was, you need to remember that Nigerian football, anything you say about the NFF, you're also speaking about the government in another sentence.
Yes,
the government
but
is
Femi,
also
you and I sat in a room, or you, because I was not there the day he said, because if I was there, there's something I would have asked him that would have probably exposed that they're not 70% or 60% solvent. But you were there in the studio when he said it, that there's 60% solvent. So that means the government...
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. They can't be 70% or 60%. That's not true. They cannot
That's
be
what he said
independent.
on. He said it on.
It's
on
not true. We all know that.
radio.
Guys, you need to go back to that BBC interview. You need to go digest it again. That interview was late January, I believe, conducted with Shino Kelechi. And he mentioned one or two things. Number one, he said that it is the responsibility of the government to pay the players. Now,
I found that very absurd, actually.
Very, very absurd. And I would say, let's go back to 2 years ago when you were saying that we are 60-70%, standing on our own.
That's not completely true. You know that.
Let me move on. Wait, just wait. He says that with the coaches, the reason why they've owed that long, which is another excuse that doesn't hold water, is because of the financial climate. The pandemic that has affected the oil company, which is ITO. And I'm like, COVID started March or February last year. So how do you explain Aloyagu's strength? Because actually, if you guys remember, it is the duty of ITO to pay Genotro.
Yes. Even though that one too, there's a bit of a
So, but I can't really wrap my head around that. Then crucially, also mentioned another thing. He said that the toxic nature of the environment, of the football environment, has made it difficult to attract sponsors. I'm like, really? You have doing 2 terms already. 2 terms as NFF president, and you are still complaining about toxic nature?
Toxic nature. The first NFF president.
I have no comeback on that.
First NFF president to have
No, you guys need to go take in that interview again and read all of the excuses.
I read the interview. I read the interview.
None of the excuses hold water.
I was a little embarrassed when Pinnick mentioned that we are still owing coaches at this time. Now, the footballers have also complained a few times. I also think that is wrong. And I think that it's about time, if we say the Super Eagles is said, Super Eagles should be the team we should not owe at all. Because that's the flagship brand. That's the most marketable team we've got. If the most marketable one is not being paid, what do you think about the under-20s, the Super Falcons, and all that? Because we haven't even touched the Falcons question. Let's move on to the stories around the competition they're going to give. They haven't done anything for years. What's the plan? You brought in a coach who is practically living abroad. That's another story. But I totally agree when you say that all the excuses is made because you want to pass a FIFA integrity test or because you want to get forward. You bring out those lines, okay, I'm going to come out clean. Because you probably know those stories will be out sooner or later. I don't agree. And I think that the NFF has to do more. Pinnick has to do more. You can't speak A and do B. If you are A, stick to A to the end. You can't say the NPFL.TV will produce 18 billion without showing us the working. You must give us the working, how it's going to arrive at that point. Because I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible this year. Because all of us are going through COVID, you and I. If you want me to spin my data and subscription, I should know the long-term profit. I want to watch the game. But how do we arrive at 18 billion? I don't know. So I agree with Wale when Wale says that, yes. I tell you cannot make that as an excuse because every year, a budget, you should know this. Every year, a company puts out its budget. This is how much we're going to spend. So that means if we're talking about 22 months ago, even the NFF must have received money from the Federal Ministry of Sports to pay coaches. Wasn't Aloyagu under their employer at that point? You should have removed this money one side and said you're going to sack him, and you knew you're going to sack him in the first 3 months. If not, remove the money because it's government money. It is not your money. The same thing for Genotro. You take that money out, it's for him. So I don't buy the excuse. I sincerely don't buy it. I tell you, have they come out to say they don't have them? Because sometimes I think it's a rub on our image as well-thinking human beings. When the NFF does the FA Cup, I tell you, when you display.
I too have been silent partners, all through this journey with the Football Federation.
They're not silent. How can you be silent when your name is on the board?
Do you know
your name is on the advertisement board?
Do you know why they are silent? Do you know why they are silent, Yemi? When was the last time their flagship competition? When was that they held? The Cup.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
After what happened to us in Uyo, waiting for that ITO person.
Oh, yes.
That's there I knew that there was problem. That's there I knew that there was problem. Moving on. And in reference to Nigerian football, I saw Morocco came out with a video recently on a tour. They did like they put together a video on the tour of the Mohammed VI Sporting Complex or football complex.
Oh yeah.
And it was beautiful to watch. And I asked myself, I asked a question, I said, how many World Cups have Morocco attended in the last 20 years? It is the same World Cup money that we collect that Morocco collects. They also collect whatever subvention comes from FIFA. And they've been able to put together that enduring edifice to endear to their people and develop their football. Little wonder, Morocco just won CHAN back to back. Little wonder. This thing is not, there's no wuru-wuru to the answer. You have to show you're working. And these guys have shown us a sustainable working plan. What is left now is for the main national team to get that success, to win an AFCON. That is what is left. But they are ready on that part. If Morocco wins the next AFCON or the AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire, I won't be surprised because I can see the work that they put in. But for Nigeria, let's just continue to hope that our talent, our perseverance, our strength, and of course, I believe in God. I believe in God will see us.
That structure you saw. That structure you saw.
Mm-hmm.
They have 3 more of that in Morocco. That structure you saw. Yeah, they have 3 more.
Algeria has 2 of that. Algeria has 2 of that time.
The latest structure you saw in Morocco is also dedicated to players, I think, under 16 or under 17. That is the only players.
Morocco is just showing off. Morocco is just showing off. What do they mean?
They have one of the best football administrators running the game.
I agree.
If you remember, sometime last year, there was a list they released, a list of managers and your own foot that were all assigned to go shadow the likes of Pep Guardiola, Zinedine Zidane, and so not only are they churning out football talents, they are also churning out some very, very good managers. I think that what they just did right now is a crowning effort. CHAN was good. Yeah. I thought their last World Cup outing wasn't bad. If you did follow them at the World Cup in Russia, it wasn't bad. They played some exciting football. But they need a crowning moment. They need some validation, and that will come with the AFCON. They need to win it and just crown everything they've done. I mean, they are a model that we should be observing. We don't need to go to the Premier League. We don't need to go to England.
We don't need to. They're just
here.
We
don't need to. We just have to go to Morocco. Go to South Africa.
Wait, Wale, we have an agreement with Morocco.
Yes, we have an agreement. We have a partnership.
We signed a partnership with Morocco.
Yeah, we have a partnership going on with them.
Let's go to the NPFL. Guys, if you are new to this, please subscribe to the channel. I need your subscription. We need to grow the fan base. Please subscribe. Let's go to the NPFL. Match day 9. Eimba, top of the table. And when Eimba goes top of the table, it is dangerous. The Elephants of Aba, when they are top of the table, it is dangerous for every other team. Well, unless Rivers United have something else on their sleeve. Wale, which result would you say caught your fancy? I'm one for Kwara United going to Akure and getting a result. For me, that was the result that caught my fancy.
Yeah, I like that result. I mean, Kwara United have been good this season. I didn't give them a chance. But Sunshine equally have been good this season. Sadiq Yusuf has been something else. 7 goals already, top scorer in the league. Scored again in this one. But I will go with the result in league. I mean, when we talk about results after match days in the NPFL, sometimes I'm always tempted not to go with the away result thing because I think it belittles the league that every time we pick results, we pick the away wins. I mean, that's the truth. I think it's the truth because, I mean, getting a result away from home is very, very difficult. Although, if you notice something, Yemi and Femi, there is a small shift. Teams are now playing games on neutral grounds. I didn't like what happened in the Ifeanyi Ubah Kano Pillars game, although maybe we'll talk about that one.
I was going to come to that.
Yeah. But the game that stood out for me was the one in Lagos. Atland, a club in crisis. A club that doesn't know what it wants. I mean, comes to Lagos. I understand they play some good stuff and beat MFM hands down. MFM never had a chance in that game, and it was familiar foes. I mean, Fidelity Chuku, coming to a familiar place, familiar hunting ground, and it did it in very good fashion. So I think that Atland result really stood out for me. They are gradually finding their feet. Remember that Fidelis wasn't on the bench for a couple of games when he had issues with the management. He's back with them. But guess what? I mean, I like managers who speak their minds. Immediately after the game, it tells Atland that please, you have to treat our players well. You have to. If you don't treat them well, we can't get results.
I listen to that.
He let down the gauntlet to them. You have to treat contracts. You have to treat their contracts and respect their contracts. So I thought that result stood out for me. But on the opposite side, I mean, for MFM who lost, that this platform is like a prophecy of doom for MFM. Anytime we talk about it.
5 games without a victory, Wale.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It's a worry.
That's bad.
It's a worry. It's a big worry.
In a league that is quite congested.
Yeah, a league that is not forgiving, especially when you're not winning home games. Especially when your form away from home is one of the poorest in the NPFL. So you ask yourself that the 1 point they have failed to turn to 3 points on 3 occasions in Lagos. Where are they going to get it back from? MFM are in big trouble. I hope they realize that real quick.
Talking about where are you going to get it from? I'm looking at Nasarawa United. I'm looking at the league table now. Anybody top of the table with 21 points from 9 games. Rivers United second with 18 points from 9. Kwara United are third with the same 18 points, but Rivers United have a better goals difference. And I'm not looking down, and I see Nasarawa United, who were top of the table at a point, are now in 8th. And that is the result of 3 straight losses. They lost at home to, I think, Plateau United, lost to Eimba, they lost to, come on. This league the table is choked. You can't afford to go on a bad run. In fact, the only reason MFM are still in 14th place and not in the relegation zone is because they have teams that are worse than them. And that's United who have only 2 points. Yeah? Yeah,
I mean, Sunshine Stars were in the top 3 2 weeks ago. Where are they right now?
Yes, they're 10th.
Where are they right now? They're 10th. And it's because, I mean, the games are coming in thick and fast, and it's still match day 9. Teams are playing weekend, playing midweek.
As much as I agree as well with your position, there's also the factor that if your team plays very well, the results will show on the table. And that's why the likes of Rivers United, they've been consistent this season. Eimba have been consistent this season. So they've just moved up. Kwara United have picked over the past few matches. And we can see why they're beginning to shift higher up. Now you get a bad run and obviously you drop. But consistently, we've seen Eimba and Rivers United perform very well this season. So they're up there. Adamawa United are consistently, they failed. So they stayed where they are. They just failed.
And, Imama got a resounding victory last week, then got defeated this week, still in the relegation zone. He needs to be worried, but they say it's just match day 9. Hopefully, yes, Wale.
Do you know, have you ever noticed something? Let me ask you and Femi. I will have to ask the statistics, guys. But has any NPFL team gone 10 matches unbeaten?
10 matches unbeaten.
No.
Go 10. No, it has, I mean, it is. No. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad
thing. Good thing or bad thing? Good thing or bad thing? It's a bad thing.
Well, it depends. No, well, it depends on how you look at it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. I think it can also be a good thing in its own way. It just tells you that the league is very tough. The league is tough.
One school of
the divide between teams. Yeah, the divide between teams are not there.
One school of thought will say that the league is tough.
Yeah.
Another school of thought will also tell you that the teams that we expect to be really good teams are not that good. That's what it means. The teams that
Well,
we
not
believe are supposed to be the
necessarily.
really good teams are not that good. That's why you can't have a team go 10 games, on a 10-game winning streak, or
No,
10 games
winning
without
streak.
defeats.
Winning streak is a very difficult one. You know, look, there are loads of. There's the
Why can't
peculiarity of
they?
Nigeria. I don't think any
No, of
team
course, there's a
currently
peculiarity.
of Nigeria. So
The
that's another.
peculiarity
Maybe
exists because
I lost you
exactly,
guys. I lost you guys
you
there.
have to drive from Lagos to Maiduguri and all those things.
exactly.
Those are part of the
So
those are part
10
of the
winning games
peculiarity.
is not possible. Can
And
you get
that's possible.
10 unbeaten? That's also difficult because everybody
No
wants to get
possible.
points.
It's not possible. Wale, are you back?
And in the words of Lagos fans, they don't negotiate
Yeah,
points
I'm
in certain
back.
venues.
So the reason I asked, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
No, go ahead.
I
Guys?
can hear you.
We can hear you.
Location,
We
maybe
can
my
hear you.
internet.
Wale. We can
I
hear
think it's
you.
my
We
poor
can hear you.
internet.
Obviously, your internet.
All right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So basically, the reason I asked that question was because if you look at the table, you cannot make prolonged progress because you can't go on long unbeaten runs.
Yes, yeah.
It is very difficult. You have to deal with fatigue. You have to deal
Yeah.
with logistics. I mean, look at
Yeah.
look at Fidelis. Do you guys realize that Fidelis was involved in an
Yeah.
accident on his way back
Yes,
to
I
Atlanta?
Yeah.
saw the
Yeah.
pictures this morning.
How does it? So now, how does a Fidelis recover mentally from that for his next game in charge?
Yeah, but Wale
And
he
see,
also
these are
tells
things
you,
that the league has to fix.
he also tells you how poor.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember
the
that?
clubs are.
Do you remember that Atlant? Do you remember that Atlant had a partnership with the said Imo Air? What happened to that partnership?
Yes.
Wale, you want to start
The,
Do you
talking?
guys remember?
genius, wait now, the genius general manager that they had then is not there again. That's why.
Yeah. So a lot of things are fundamentally wrong. See, if you can make sure that these things are right, then you will now see clubs doing unbeaten runs. When you can fix logistics, you will see teams go to match centers refreshed, play without fear of anything. And even in the like last season in Europe, we talked about how the away teams were having much more joy playing away from home. Have we seen?
Mhm.
We haven't seen that in the NPFL. The rate of home wins still remains. I mean, it can be unpredictable, but the home teams are still winning.
Yeah.
But at least the away teams, even though you say you don't like,
It's still the but it's still the sprinkle of away wins. It's still just sprinkle of away wins. Sprinkle. And this is the first half of the season.
What will happen? Imagine we have a day like, was it last Sunday in the Premier League, where all the games on Sunday were all away wins.
Well, that'll be great.
Imagine that happening in the NPFL.
That'll be good.
All the games on the particular match day, away wins.
That was in the Premier League.
While it's frozen, let's go to the fixtures. Fixtures for match day 10. Hold on. Fixtures for match day 10. Let's see, what are the highlights? What am I doing? Okay, fixtures. National United versus Aqua United. Plateau United take on Rivers United. That should be huge. Adama United versus
That game should be postponed.
Katsina versus which one? Oh yeah. It will be postponed. Yes, we're going to talk about the reason why it will be postponed next. Katsina United versus Chicago Golden Stars. Heartland FC versus Lobby Stars. Kano Pillars taking on MFM. MFM are going away to Kano Pillars. Choir United at home to Dakada. Wiki Torres at home to Sunshine Stars. Abia Warriors at home to Rangers. Some kind of Oriental derby there. And Warriors are supposed to host Imba, but know that game will be rescheduled. So, aside the games that will be rescheduled, which other game stands out for you, Femi?
I see my mass game of Abia Warriors Rangers. That has to be a lovely game to see. And you already mentioned it's a derby. That's the first part. And I think the second part as well is Imama previously coached Rangers the last time they won the title. Abia Warriors
yeah.
have gone through
So it's
a
welcome
lot.
his former employers.
Exactly. So, it also posed the question of what's the thought of the management? They gave him 3 games ultimatum, did not lose any of the 3 matches, but had just 3 draws, then won the 4th, and then his return back to status quo. So it has not really been a balance of results. But against Rangers have been very decent this season. And I do feel as well that it will be an exciting game. In my opinion, if the results don't reflect what the management wants, never can tell. There may be more worries for the manager.
Well, I would love to see if MFM can go to Kano Pillars and do something.
Forget that thought. Forget that thought.
I should forget that thought.
Forget that thought.
Wale, which game stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it looks like a boring match week, but I like Kwara United against Dakar. Dakar silently have been playing some good football.
Yeah, doing some
this
good
season.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been good quietly. I think Sunshine Stars can go to Bauchi and get something against Wiki. Yeah, but I think that Imama has to win against Rangers. It's very, very crucial. And this is what I'm saying again about the fact that, see, we are having too many games on neutral grounds. I don't know if I like that. I don't know why Abia Warriors cannot play in Aba. Why they've gone to Okigwe.
No, but they're the ones that said that that they want to leave Aba now. They left Aba.
Yeah, so now I hope they also have to be aware that it puts them in a very bad position. Because teams come to Okigwe and sit as a neutral ground.
Yeah, but Wale,
same thing also.
There was no way we would have continued playing football in that against Stadium in Mumuaya.
No, they could have easily played in Aba. They could have played in Aba.
They don't like Aba now. They can't play in Aba because it's Imba. And you know how our people are. They'll start saying maybe Imba people don't want to.
I'd like to know what you guys think about how the LMC used to force. I'll use the word force. If I'm about to come and play in Port Harcourt against Kano Pillars, again they lost yesterday.
I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what happened there. Why they decided to move them to Port Harcourt, and they were probably on very short notice at the same time. They're saying that, and I do, from what I've read, they're saying it's because the pitch in Nnewi is not TV friendly. Whatever that means, really. Then don't schedule.
Did you say okay? Let me quickly tell you what happened. So there's a section in the LMC statutes.
Okay.
That says that. Are you guys listening?
Yeah,
we can.
All right. There's a section in the LMC statutes that says that the LMC can force clubs to change the location of games for commercial and broadcast reasons. And that is what the LMC have invoked. They've invoked that section in the statutes to ensure that Ifeanyi come to Port Harcourt to play. But see, why is in the rules? Is in Port Harcourt because they also wanted to cover the Rivers United game.
Yeah.
They also wanted to run the Rivers game too. That is not a bad idea.
Sorry
it is not.
This is the second one. Dakar and Aqua United played, I think, same day.
Yeah, there's no big deal over that.
The pitches. Where have you seen that you play 2 matches on the same day? Just
forget that. Forget that one. We don't do all of that. All of that. You are playing 2 games on pitches. We don't do all of that. Do you know how many clubs play? Do you know how many clubs play at the Agege Stadium, guys?
I know there are many.
MFM play there. There's a league. There's a private league that goes on there every weekend. TCC. Van Dresser Football Club, the NNL side, will be playing their games there. So what are you saying? So we don't do all of that. Let's forget that.
Van Dresser should go to Teslim now.
Van Dresser Football Club.
They should go to Teslim. Why are they playing again? They should go to Teslim.
It's not favorable to them.
They have money.
It's not by having money. It's about having fans.
And only because we get to be open as an isolation center. It's ridiculous, really. I get you that yes, for commercial purposes, yes, they can do that. But I would say, why schedule if I'm about to come to Port Harcourt when they could have gone to either what's it called? They could have gone to the cathedral. Enugu to Ulewi. What's the distance?
Well, it's for TV. Look, you already said the word. You already said the word TV. You already said the word TV coverage, and that's because the LMC itself is running on a very, very, very tight budget. You have one commentator going by road. There's no way. If you even care for the individual, you're going to end up burning out that person. As in, you're going to end up burn out.
Yeah, but put them by road. Real quick. Yemi, is Yemi here? Okay. Quickly. So until the last couple of games, for the Uyo Swing, and I think the one in Port Harcourt yesterday, they have involved another commentator, who is from Port Harcourt. So that helps. That helps ease the burden on the team.
Even two is not enough.
Yeah, I know. But you have to
audience.
Realize that not enough.
The process of this whole NPF,
you need to ensure that you have at least 5 commentators. At least 5.
Yeah. Of course. But you ask yourself, how many real commentators do we have in this country?
To be honest, Wale, we will never know until we experiment. We are assuming because we always say this.
I've been 10 years in this industry, and I can tell you that you just don't need a commentator. You need a commentator who knows the NPFL. When you see out there people who watch the Premier League, who watch La Liga. No. You need NPFL commentators.
Famous have a commentator say, "Oh, so that's just number 10."
Yeah,
no. No, I will always go. Listen, I will always go that it's easier to say, "Oh, let's get the best," and I think let's get the best. But I think that when we got the best, there's always a pool. You can always get, because at the end of the day, what you are doing is you are going to exhaust one commentator. Even he mentally will not be thinking at the level of speed. The best commentators in the world don't operate more than one game. You give him one game or 2 games every weekend, or 3 games. No.
If Peter Juri they walk the way Manuel they walk, Babano
probably won't sound as.
Babano give us those punchlines they give us.
Exactly.
You
need to relax.
So guys,
I give him a lot of credit. I think he does a lot of work, and I hope that the LMC are obviously doing what should be done. But they should even be more sorry. They should even be stringers. They should be stringers as well. When you go to different venues, you always get stringers. Put the stringer. While are you saying that even the match, the pitch was the name, the pitch presenter too? There are very few in the world or in Nigeria that can do that too. If I hand you a microphone, Wale, I'm sure you can probably do that.
Those are the ones that are available.
The pitch sides.
Femi, let's round up. Time has gone. We have a big clash this Sunday. The first leg of the CAF Confederations Cup last knockout round. Eimba versus Rivers United. In one word. No, is it one word? Okay. Who are you rooting for? I mentioned on this show last week that I'm all for Rivers United. I want Rivers United to go through because they are the bona fide members of the CAF Confederations Cup. Eimba has not come through the back door again to get to the knockout stage. So, Femi, who are you rooting for?
Eimba.
Go, Jari. Why are you rooting for?
Is that fine?
Go, Shalaye. What are you rooting for?
Initially when we had this conversation, I talked about how I wanted Rivers United, and they're playing some good stuff. But the bad thing about competitions that they haven't played immediately is that form can change.
Yeah,
I look at Eimba, they've primed themselves well. I think that right now they are playing better than Rivers United. So, I mean, Eimba are going to that game with a lot of confidence. Toshomayele is scoring. I mean, that brace he scored will give his confidence a whole lot of good. But Rivers United are also not looking bad. It's just that, you know, they've lost a bit of steam, I think, under Stanley Eguma. But I think I would like to see Rivers United. I think they deserve to be in the group stages. I think they've done the hard work. But, I mean, that's an emotional and sentimental reason. But I think that right now, Eimba are playing some good football. And I think the best team has to represent us in the group stages.
Thank you, guys. Big shout out to everybody that's joined the show today. Please, like I said, remember to subscribe. Press the subscribe button so that anytime I'm coming live with any of my shows and my content, you would get a notification. Shout out to Shai Wolabi and Dum Nodio Konta for joining us on the show with their comments. Fem Faraway, thank you very much. Wale's internet has given up again. Wale Adigun, thank you very much, guys, for a fantastic show. Hopefully, we will get there. Do have a lovely day. Bye for now.